The Packing House has the best fish fry around. Hand-breaded Icelandic cod, perch, clam chowder, tartar sauce, coleslaw, potato pancakes, all made in-house from scratch. Dinner includes 3 large pieces of fish, french fries or potato pancakes, tartar sauce, rye bread and butter, clam chowder, coleslaw, and lemon. Packing House, MKE.com.
Join Milwaukee Film virtually for the Minority Health Film Festival, presented by the Froedtert and the Medical College of Wisconsin Health Network, taking place now through September 24th. Watch 50 films plus conversations about the health and well-being of families, communities, and institutions. Tickets are on sale now at mkefilm.org/MHFF. The Forum, exclusively on Facebook Live, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. until 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, covering topics from local, national, and everything in between. It may not be what you expect to hear, but we will definitely give you what you need to know. That's The Forum, exclusively on Facebook Live. Call in 414-395-0484. There's liberal news, there's conservative news, and then there's the truth. Join us for the truth.
Good morning. Welcome to the program. Friday, September 11th. And no, I'm not wearing my sport coat to fight off turning on the heat. I got to go do a thing right after the show. And I don't really have time to change when I'm done having our conversation because ain't no telling how long we're going to talk. I typically keep these at an hour. But there's a lot to talk about today, and so I may go over. And so I said, well, let me get dressed ahead of the program. I knew y'all would have something to say about it because I wear a different shirt every day, but I never really get dressed up. So I got to go and do a thing. Before we get to the conversation today, and there's a lot to discuss, let me say thank you to the people that have shown support to what we're doing here, this platform. We are a crowd-funded, I'm so proud to be able to say that, source of information. This is supported by you guys, and it feels so good to say that, and I'm so appreciative of that. I just want to take some time to let you guys know how much I am in your debt, because when I worked for radio stations, they take 70 to 80% of the money that you bring in. A lot of folks don't know that. It's very, very rare that you get a salary when you work at a radio station because they want your presence on the air to bring in a certain amount of ad revenue. And to an extent, that makes a lot of sense. But they're taking, the best commission I ever got was 30%, and that was a lot. But also, people need to know, for my first 3.5 years, actually it was 40 months at WNOV, I didn't get paid anything. A lot of folks don't know that. You know how difficult it is to get up and do a job every day and perform it well to the standards of our community, which are sometimes so high it's unachievable and unattainable. To wake up every morning when you don't feel well, you didn't sleep well, you might be sick, you're tired, you're in a bad mood, and to go and perform a job when you're not getting compensated for it. But I did it. Let me tell you why I did it. Because my love of and for community and having necessary conversations, not just amongst us, but amongst other people that were curious about what we discuss in a segregated Black community. You couldn't measure that with money. And so what I told the people over at WNOV when I first started, because I had a whole bunch of other things going on, I was doing some consulting work and I had a few other gigs, so I didn't really need to get paid for doing radio. And in a sense, it helped me with my other endeavors because I was able to promote things or promote people or whatever the case may be, so it worked out. And then I said to them, one day I'm probably going to ask for a salary. And they said, no problem, Sherwin. You just let us know when that day comes. And when you work in politics and in consulting, it ebbs and it flows. And it was flowing when I started. And so the WNOV was just coming back online. And I didn't want them to break whatever little bit of bank they had to pay me, because otherwise that defeats the purpose. If they end up going out of business because they're paying all the money they're getting in ad revenue in salaries, I'm thinking to myself, well, it's not worth it. Fair enough. Well, lo and behold, 3.5 years passed. the program became much more popular, and not just a place where African Americans were listening to the Black radio station, but people from all over were coming to WNOV to get their news, including local news stations would come and they would begin their morning stories with topics that we were discussing. I can't tell you how many times I've been on local news because they brought their cameras into our radio station and filmed what we were talking about, and then that was their story. To me, that's lazy journalism because you're piggybacking off of somebody else's story, but that's okay because I use their journalism too. But then the day came in which it wasn't flowing, it was ebbing. And I said to the management of WNOV, hey guys, remember a couple years ago when I said that thing about, one day we're going to have to work this out? The short version of that story was, well, Sherwin, we haven't been paying you for all this time. Why would you want a salary now? At that point, I was starting my exit to WNOV. And that was in 2016. So when I left WNOV in 2018, I had been leaving technically for 2 years. So there you go. There's that story. But now I'm happy to say that what we're doing here is supported by you all. And I cannot tell you how much that I appreciate that. So I got a whole bunch of T-shirts and coffee mugs to mail out to those folks who are supporters of what we're doing here. And it's only going to go up, guys. It's only going to go up from here. So had to get that off my chest to let you guys know how long and difficult the road has been for me to broadcast, and now to be able to do it the way I want to do it and not have to deal with competing personalities, because people that are in media are some of the worst people ever. I'm not included in that, but there's just a tremendous amount of ego when you're working with people that believe they control the dialogue of a city. It's just, I'll write a book one day. Anyways, Tammy Reed, thank you so much, Tammy, for your support. You've been so wonderful. Good morning to you, Tammy. And Johnson says, good morning. Justin Thomas Brown, wearing the suit coat, fighting off, turning on the heat. So I'm one of those people. You can say whatever you want about me. I don't want to turn the heat on before it's time. I mean, I'm not going to suffer. I'm not going to freeze to death. But if I see it's going to be 75 degrees at the end of the week, I'm a hardy person. I can hack it. I can take it. Don't need to turn the heat on yet. But no, it's not the reason why I'm wearing the suit coat. And also, I have an old furnace in my old house, and they don't even make my model of American Standard furnace anymore. And so I get it inspected faithfully every single year, because the furnace guy told me many years ago, it's like, oh, if you need a part for this, you're going to be screwed. So just keep getting your furnace maintained, and it probably could last for another 10 or 15 years or whatever the case may be. So I don't want to turn my heat on until I get my furnace inspected. So I'll probably end up getting it inspected next week. Not that any of you care, but I feel the need to explain everything. Vanessa Garrett, great Friday morning. Sherwin and everyone. Vanessa, thank you so much for your support as well. Denise Jones says, good morning, people. Nicole Renee, good morning. Happy Friday. You guys are happy about these Fridays. To me, my days of the week they're kind of the same-ish. They're just kind of like repeats of Mondays. Cassandra D, good morning. Sherman, see, you know what? My friends call me Sherwin. My enemies call me Sherman. There he is, LaRon Taylor. So LaRon Taylor, who has been a longtime supporter of my broadcasting, going back to WNOV, and he used to bring us cookies all the time. I'm watching television yesterday. I see LaRon Taylor on the TV. You do one of those, like, you shake your head and you wipe your eyes, like, what? Huh? LaRon is in a Domino's commercial. LaRon, I'll let you explain it better than me, but good morning to you as well. Famous Domino's spokesperson. Good morning, Renee Lewis. Gail Williams says, good morning. Orvana Harris, good morning. Mia C, good morning to you. Eric Smith, good morning, sir. Good morning, right back at you. Jacqueline Ward, it's still summer. Yes, it is technically still summer. We lost the whole summer because of the coronavirus. It's gone. We lost the summer. So I'm not ready to let go of summer just yet, because once you put the heat on, it's psychological and it's symbolic. That's it. It's over. Not putting the heat on yet. Alden Higgins, glad you're with us. Alden, appreciate you being here. Good morning to you as well. So a couple of things. I believe that we have an opportunity in Milwaukee to redeem ourselves from 2016 because, the voter turnout was low here, and it was low enough to where the Republican popular vote in the state of Wisconsin had more strength because the Democratic vote didn't realize its full potential. And I don't want to litigate that. You guys know what happened in 2016, but it was a shade under 23,000 votes in which Donald Trump was successful. Now, if I do some math, that is a vote total that I think we can exceed, right? So if 23,000 typical Democratic voters stayed home in 2016, I believe there is enough trouble and misery in the world right now to where those people that either didn't vote or maybe voted for Donald Trump, and I can't speak for the other parts of the state where they're displaying these gigantic Trump-Pence signs, like this new version of the Confederate flag. Like your Trump-Pence sign is not just a symbol of who you are supporting for president. It's not just your party affiliation. It means you're a Confederate. That's what it is. If you're going to display your yard sign for that fascist regime that is ruining the country, where people from Wisconsin can't travel to certain states to see friends and family and loved ones because our coronavirus cases are so high, if you were still promoting that ticket, you're a different kind of human being at this point. But I do believe, and maybe it's me being optimistic again, but also I've had these conversations every single day since 2016. There hasn't been a break. I've talked to you, I've talked to other people, I've talked to random strangers, I've gotten into arguments, I've lost some friends. And so I've had my pulse as best I can have it on the sentiment of people. I think there's just enough people that are upset to where they're going to vote in a different direction in November, come November 3rd. Good. Got some information yesterday. Going to talk about that in a second, where Mayor Tom Barrett is putting 15 drop boxes around the city. I know that may give some people some caution. That are the drop boxes going to be safe? Are they going to be secure? Every day, the ballots that are dropped off in those boxes at 15 different places around the city, they're going to be under a 24-hour surveillance, and the ballots are going to be collected every day, every 24 hours. And then you can go to myvote.wi.gov to make sure your ballot you put in one of those 15 drop boxes around the city was actually received. That's a good thing, because I believe we can get a necessary vote total. We want to exceed the vote total that we had in the city of Milwaukee in 2016. Those drop boxes are a way to do it. This is really, really good news. And I know that people don't really have a lot of trust in the system and trust in the process, but at this point, guys, what's our alternative? You may not trust everything that's going on. I'm gonna tell you right now that I don't trust the post office, and there's some interesting finagling that is going on in the state of Wisconsin. I want to kind of bring some of those things and connect some dots here, because the Wisconsin State Supreme Court, had it been for a couple of different outcomes in some recent elections going back to 2011, 2015, we would have a Democratic-leaning state Supreme Court. We do not. Courts matter, and I tried to make that case yesterday and days prior to, because they determine the validity of our political parties. If the Republicans are doing something outrageous and ridiculous and outlandish, if you have a court that sides with the opposite party, then they can test the validity of what Republican legislators and executives are doing. But now we have the almost comical, tragic, nonsensical political ethos of the Republicans being legitimized by the court. So that's a problem. They're trying to slow down the mail, which I'm sure you've already seen. Louis DeJoy has been on the hot seat for I can't tell you how many weeks because of what he is systematically trying to do to the post office, because one way in which you can have an effect on the November 3rd election is to screw with the mail, because we know that more Democrats and more Joe Biden voters are going to vote by mail. So Donald Trump wants to screw with that. Wisconsin, we know, is a battleground state, as evidenced by the number of candidates and the vice presidential candidates that have been here and that will come again to Wisconsin over the next coming weeks. So if you slow down the ability to get the ballots printed in Wisconsin, you are going to cause this ripple effect delay. Your ballot should be going out reasonably soon. We know October 20th is when some of the first early voting locations open, but those who have requested their ballots by mail, they could be coming reasonably soon, except for a lawsuit. And a lawsuit is being filed by the Green Party. The Green Party is filing a challenge, and they went all the way up to the conservative Wisconsin Supreme Court to get a stay on printing the ballots because the Green Party wants to be on the November 3rd ballot. Typically not that big of a deal until I give you some details of who was on that Green Party. And we're going to connect some dots because we're going to get ahead of this thing before it gets ahead of us. Because the amount of trickery is not just going to come from Russia. And also we know that Russia and Iran and China, they're playing in our elections as well. Because at this point, the United States is a free-for-all. There really is no republic. There is no democracy. We're going through social turmoil. We don't know what to do about the police. We're going to defund them or we're going to retrain them. We have so much confusion within our republic right now. Other countries are like, America is vulnerable. And listen, depending upon the country, that country's foreign policy agenda is always going to involve the United States. Whether it's trade or whether it's militarism, it's always going to involve us. And so if another country that has an agenda that includes the United States can be influential in who the next president is, they're going to do it. And we also see there are zero consequences. So we're going to get ahead of this thing. So the trickery is not necessarily going to come only from other countries. It's going to come right here in the United States because you have people in significant positions of power. When I say significant positions of power, I mean the people that have the authority to get your ballots printed. They are participating in the trickery as well. So it's not just foreign countries. It's almost like Republicans and those that are still supporting this ticket will side with the most un-American and undemocratic agendas just so Donald Trump can get reelected. It's the scariest thing I have ever seen. It's hard to conceptualize it now because we're in it. But once the smoke has cleared, if it ever clears, because the wildfires that are burning out west, we're going to see how bad that this whole Republican regime was working to overthrow American democracy. Eric Smith, good morning. Jacqueline Ward, it's still summer, she said. Read those comments already. Udell Harris, there we are. Good morning, my brother. Tammy Reed, definitely what that Trump Pence sign means to me. That dang snake flag too. So the coiled snake is the Tea Party flag. It was that Tea Party flag. It's a yellow flag with a coiled snake. Don't tread on me is the slogan on the flag. It goes back to the 1790s. And it was some revolutionary group that existed back then. But the Tea Party, when they came into existence in 2010, they existed in some form prior to 2010, but it was Barack Obama's first midterm election. And that is when we saw this extremeness in right-wing politics with the Tea Party, who said that they wanted lower taxes, or they just made up a bunch of stuff. They basically didn't like Barack Obama. But that also was the first time that I saw in my lifetime Republican activism that actually went out and protested. Republican activism that packed town hall meetings and yelled and screamed at politicians, because that's usually Democrats and liberals that do that. Republicans have had some of the most fringe elements have been very, very quiet. They pull levers and strings behind closed doors. But with the election of Barack Obama, I think those people started thinking like, wait a minute, maybe these demographic shifts in the United States that we've been hearing about for all these years, maybe it's coming to fruition. And so that first midterm election that after Barack Obama was elected in 2008, the Tea Party sprung up like a mushroom. You know what mushrooms grow in. And then they just became more and more and more extreme. But I can trace a lot of what we're seeing right now, this flavor of Trumpism, back to the Tea Party. Good morning, Mr. Chris Wyken. Thank you for your support, sir. Appreciate you. Jacqueline Ward, I'll go vote early in person. So that's where I'm leaning as well. But for those that cannot go and vote in person, or you choose not to, I would rather you go and vote in person. But if you can't for whatever the reason, then those drop boxes that are going to be installed around the city in 15 different locations would be a good idea, because then you're just done. You don't even have to go to a polling place, because even if you go and vote early, and we're going to have a variety of early voting locations, including Miller Park and the Fiserv Forum, you're still going to deal with a crowd. You're probably going to deal with lines of people. You're probably going to deal with where you're going to park your car. There's going to be a little bit of headache. But if you're just out running your errands and you have your ballot that you received in the mail and it's all filled out and the envelope has been witnessed and you're going to be in the proximity of one of those drop boxes, that's probably the easiest and most convenient way. But it's almost like when Mayor Barrett tries to bring democracy closer to the people, like right now, democracy is literally in your neighborhood. I mean, your polling location when it opens on election day, that's in your neighborhood too. But these drop boxes really just bring it to the street level. But at the same time, Mayor Tom Barrett makes that decision, he and other people in his administration, the state Supreme Court wants to pause printing the ballots because of the Green Party. Don't let me forget to talk about the Green Party. I'm just so glad I can see my comments now. I'm saying good morning to everybody. Liz Fox Okie. Good morning, Liz. Everybody, I went to high school with Liz. I think I might have went to middle school with her too. Marcy Stutzman, damn, who is this GQ model? Nice suit jacket. Don't brown nose. But the GQ model is me. Ann Johnson just says, Jesus. Jesus, take the wheel. Karen Ann, good morning. Early and in person, she says. Okay, can I go back for a little bit? Because we forget stuff. And I want to remind people of stuff. You guys remember a woman named Angela Walker? I remember Angela Walker. Angela Walker is maybe 46 years old, reasonably young in terms of being a presidential candidate. But I met her in 2014, and she was running for Milwaukee County Sheriff. Now, if you recall, 2014, Sheriff David Clark was also on that ballot. In fact, that was the last election that he ran in. He did not seek re-election in 2018. That is when Richard Schmidt ran for sheriff, Richard Schmidt and Ernell Lucas. But Angela Walker, who was this really intelligent, extremely articulate, very wise for her age, union member. I believe she was a bus driver, but she also was a socialist. And at the time, socialism, especially coming from an African-American woman who was and is accomplished, was just refreshing, especially the contrast that she brought to Sheriff David Clark. Now, she didn't win, but she did really, really well. She's got a lot of charisma and a lot of people liked her. She got 20% of the vote in 2014 when she ran for sheriff. And I remember interviewing her and just being so fascinated by, and I don't think she even ran to win. She ran to prove a point, to articulate some issues that conservative Republican David Clark would never talk about. And so she was a reasonable alternative. No, she was not going to win because in Milwaukee County, where the suburbs have smaller population, but they have a higher percentage of their vote. Their percent is higher, but their population is lower. There was no way an African-American woman who was a socialist and running as a socialist for sheriff of all things was going to win. But she made a great point. And her point resonated with a lot of people in the county. She got 67,000 votes, mostly because people liked her, or it was a rebellion against the current political system. People were flirting with and experimenting with third parties. People don't really commit. The full democracy doesn't really commit to third parties. Sometimes the democracy just gets fed up with our Democrats and our Republican spouses. Like if you're married to a political party, the Democrat's your spouse, the Republican is your spouse. Sometimes you want to go out and cheat. You want to cheat on your political spouse. And I'm sick of the Democrats. I'm going to go vote for a socialist. But you always come back home. So we flirted, not me. Damn, did I vote for her? I think I did vote for Angela Walker in 2014. Let me shut my mouth. So I cheated too. I flirted with her. But she was a reasonable alternative to voting for David Clark. And also, I didn't want to leave that box blank for Milwaukee County Sheriff. So I voted for Angela Walker. She's a Black woman. She was a very smart lady. I didn't know that socialism would come back and haunt us, but this is an article that I found from 2014. It says, while the re-election of right-wing Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker attracted most of the local and national media attention on the November 4th, this is November 4th, 2014, Scott Walker was also on that ballot. There was also a bright spot for the left in Wisconsin. Angela Walker, no relation, an African-American bus driver and unionist, is running as an independent socialist for Milwaukee County Sheriff. She received 67,000 votes, representing 20.3% of the votes cast. So Angela Walker did very, very well. Well, Angela Walker is on the ballot again, or trying to get on the ballot. She's not running as a socialist per se. She now is the vice presidential nominee of the Green Party. The Green Party either didn't submit their paperwork in time, or there was some other mix-up where they could not get what we call ballot access. So the Green Party, in which Angela Walker, who got 67,000 votes running for sheriff in a race that she was not going to win, is now the vice presidential nominee for the Green Party. And they, the Green Party and Angela Walker, are bringing suit in Wisconsin to halt the printing of our ballots because they want to, the Green Party believes that they have done everything necessary to get on the ballot. And a conservative Wisconsin Supreme Court, you got to follow me now, the conservative Wisconsin Supreme Court has agreed with the Green Party to halt printing the ballots. Meaning whenever they do decide to print the ballots, it's going to bring us closer and closer and closer to the actual election. The other thing is this, there's some people I'm sure that still like Angela Walker. They remember her from 2014. And plus, who doesn't want to see a Black woman on a presidential ticket? I know a lot of people were happy when Joe Biden picked Kamala Harris. Here's what makes it so dangerous. If the Green Party gets on the ballot, there could be enough people. If she got 67,000 votes when she ran for sheriff, they would only need 25,000 votes for the Green Party in this election to take just enough away from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to give this state back to Trump. And so it is this kind of mess that gets me so angry and infuriated, because Angela Walker and whoever her presidential running mate is, I got the guy's name here, but who cares? They're only doing this to spoil the election. The number of votes that she got individually in 2014 is more than enough. If Democrats and left-leaners and she's a big Bernie person, I would assume, because of her socialist leanings. If those Bernie folks see something reasonable in Angela Walker because they don't like Joe Biden and they hate Donald Trump, then the election in Wisconsin is going to go to Donald Trump. And the conservative Supreme Court is like, oh, the Green Party wants to get on the ballot? Well, maybe we should pause everything and slow down the process of printing the ballots, because those of us that are excited and ready to vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are now going to have to wait. If they get on the ballot, I want you, the Green Party, I want you to be mindful of specifically what they're doing. And I otherwise wouldn't give the Green Party any credibility, but let me tell you why this is a major problem. I've been holding my tongue quite a bit because I don't want to anger too many people, because we don't want to divide the electorate. But let me just say that there is another African-American woman in the city of Milwaukee who has a prominent position. I'm not going to say her name, but some time ago, and she works for I'm just going to say a very important person. Not ready to say the name yet, because there's going to be a whole bunch of consequences once I say this person's name. So I'm not going to do that yet. Maybe some of you will figure it out, because she put it on Facebook. This individual who's got a very prominent political position that works for a very, very prominent politician, and this person is located in Milwaukee. The politician is located in Madison, but the person that works for that Madison politician is in Milwaukee, also an African-American woman, was promoting the Green Party. And this African-American woman who's got a prominent position was promoting the Green Party even though she works for a Democrat. And so I don't know if this is all just coincidence, but just when we think we have momentum, just when we have Donald Trump right where we want him, just when we come to find out within the last 24 hours that you're not going to get another stimulus check, and the only way you're going to get a stimulus check is if Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and the Democratic Senate are elected in November, just when we think we have the wind at our back, just when we're at a point where we're not letting Donald Trump change the conversation about what he said about minimizing the coronavirus, but then when he had that conversation with Bob Woodward, he's like, oh yeah, it's terrible. It's going to kill a bunch of people. We're not letting Trump change the subject. Just when we have this momentum, we have the state Supreme Court stopping the printing of ballots right when we find out we're going to have drop boxes throughout the city of Milwaukee where you don't even have to fool with the mail. You can just drop your ballot off. Right when all of these things are starting to build and crescendo to give us some momentum, you have Angela Walker and the Green Party throwing a wrench in everything. This potentially in Wisconsin could be worse than Ralph Nader spoiling the election in the year 2000. From Madison, the Green Party presidential nominee is asking that the state Supreme Court put his name on the Wisconsin ballot, but election officials are arguing it's likely too late to do so. The Wisconsin Elections Commission didn't include the Green Party ticket on the ballot when it deadlocked last month over whether its candidates had properly submitted their campaign paperwork. The commission's 3 Republicans voted to put Green Party presidential nominee Howie Hawkins, so that's the presidential nominee for the Green Party, Howie Hawkins, and vice presidential nominee Angela Walker on the ballot, but the 3 Democrats on the commission voted against doing so. Whether they get on the ballot could play a role in who wins in Wisconsin this fall. Democrats fear, and rightfully so, that the Green Party candidates could pick off votes that would otherwise go to Joe Biden. Republicans hope to see that happen so President Donald Trump can win Wisconsin, as he narrowly did in 2016. Let me be abundantly clear, because the people that we're talking to and the people that are participating in this group, in this conversation, no, I don't think anybody in here is going to vote for Angela Walker and the Green Party. Now, congratulations to Angela Walker making it to a national stage and becoming a Black woman on a presidential ticket. Yay. But you're doing so at the expense of turning America into a fascist country where, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, Trump gets reelected, there's going to be a noose in every tree. And there's not going to be much we can do about it. What are we going to do? Call the police? I got a problem with that. Sam Marginov, she would have won based on smarts and character. Sam, are you talking about Angela Walker in 2014? And maybe, I don't know if things were different, but the fact that 67,000 people in Milwaukee County voted third party in 2014 is a shocking number. Listen, if people remember Angela Walker from 2014 and vote for her, if half of those people in one county, now, look, she's on a ballot statewide. I'm just looking at how well she performed in Milwaukee County. That is enough votes taken away from the Democrats to give Donald Trump Wisconsin. That doesn't necessarily guarantee Trump gets reelected, but they're going to blame us again because they've been blaming Wisconsin for Trump's victory in the first place, and I'm tired of living under that cloud. Margaret Chavez Salud. I'm screaming in my pillow. Yeah, I know. To an extent, I understand. I mean, I don't agree. But if you're tired of the system, and I could see how you are tired of Democrats and Republicans, because they're at such a point now where they can't work together. And Democratic voters have participated in this, because if you find out that your Democratic representative is working with Republicans to craft a bill, even if the bill helps people, even if we found out some of our liberal and progressive Democratic state legislators are working across the aisle with Republicans, it can be like on a stimulus package for Wisconsin workers. It could be on reducing prescription drug costs in Wisconsin. It could be providing Badger Care and Medicare, Medicaid to everybody in the state of Wisconsin. There are people that will have a fit that Democrats are working with Republicans. We have moved so far away from true bipartisanship. In fact, since McCain-Feingold, the campaign finance reform bill in 2002, you don't really see bipartisan stuff anymore. Tammy Baldwin has done a few bipartisan things, but it's not much, because Democratic voters expect our legislators and our executives to just oppose Republicans, which is stupid, because only Republicans poll higher and do better with Republican voters when they oppose the Democrats. This is why Republicans have never had any reasonable policy on the table, because they don't have to. The Democrats always have the reasonable policy because Democratic voters require things of this government. They come up with the ideas and the policies for healthcare, for clean energy, to combat climate change. Democratic voters do that. And so all Republicans have to do is just wait until Democrats churn out reasonable legislation. Then Republicans just say no. They're the party of no. Nancy Reagan started that mess. Just say no. Denise Jones said, keep hope alive. I'm trying. Depending upon, let me just go ahead and assume the worst so we can begin to prepare. The Green Party will probably end up on the ballot in Wisconsin, but they're representing obviously their own self-interest, because there are a number of people that want to see a Bernie Sanders style candidate. They want to see Bernie Sanders agenda item realized, and Joe Biden is not going to adopt Bernie Sanders agenda. Let me just say this: to have a republic, the majority, it wins. And so if you believed in Bernie Sanders, and he's just like the symbol for a particular type of leftist thinking these days, if his ideas were that popular, because Bernie Sanders has 100% name ID. There's not a person in this country who does not know what Bernie Sanders stands for, what he represents. In fact, most people you talk to have a Bernie Sanders impression. That is how familiar Americans are with him. But his policies aren't popular. They're not. And if they were, he would have done much better. And he had 2 kicks at the cat. This primary election and also in 2016. His policies they're popular with people that don't vote. That's what it is. And here's the thing: if you got a candidate and your candidate has an agenda, you can't just be content with that. You have to put in the work. You have to knock on doors and talk to people and send them text messages. You have to volunteer. Like, you have to do all of these things. Otherwise, you just falling in love with your candidate and their message is not going to help. And Bernie Sanders people, they just, and let me not cast a large dispersion over all of them, but because there's so many young people that were hearing, oh, my college is going to be free, you're going to get rid of my student loan debt. And it's not even young people, it's just people that believe that the magic that Bernie Sanders was discussing could come true. Like, if you elected him, your healthcare is going to be free. You're not going to have private health insurance anymore. The government's going to pay for it. What Bernie didn't tell you is that even if we had his brand of health insurance, this is just one example. His idea of Medicare for all, it's still private insurance. It's just the government is paying for it. It's still the same company, still making the same money, still making the same profit, still charging the same rates. They're just not charging you directly. They're charging the government, which means your taxes are going to go up. It's just an end around with the money. That's all it was. In order for Bernie Sanders' ideas to be enacted, and people, they were romanticized by that. And I understand, because if you're not making ends meet and your wages are too low, all that stuff sounds great. Imagine how much money you personally would save on healthcare, because if you make under a certain dollar amount, you're not paying federal taxes anyway. So you're technically, your student loans would be forgiven and your healthcare would be free. You're on cloud 9. But in order for that to happen, Bernie Sanders would have to have been the kind of dictatorial leader like Trump, where you use the federal government and your executive order pen to usurp Congress. And that is one of the biggest problems that I have with Trump. He doesn't care about Congress. He doesn't care about the stack of bills that Nancy Pelosi and the Democratic majority passed. Donald Trump, everything from border wall funding to how he's going to count people in the census, to his ideas on foreign policy, to lifting sanctions on nations that are enemies of the state, Donald Trump uses his executive order pen to usurp Congress, and Bernie Sanders would have done the exact same thing. Even though Bernie Sanders would have done those things for working class people and for poor people, it's still an abuse of power. But people got romanticized by that. And then they see somebody like Angela Walker, who got 67,000 votes just in Milwaukee County in 2014, and and people that side with Bernie would ultimately vote for somebody like Angela Walker, say screw the whole system. They want to burn it down, because if they can't get their way and if we can't change how politics works, then neither the Democrats nor the Republicans deserve to win. And when you have that philosophy, the Republicans are going to win. It is Democrats, it's liberals and progressives that are much more politically impressionable. How do I know? Go talk to a Trump supporter. Try to talk some sense into them. Try and get them to even consider the alternative. Never. Talk to a Democrat, a Joe Biden person, a Hillary Clinton person, a Bernie Sanders, a Beto O'Rourke person, an Eric Swalwell person, an Amy Klobuchar person. They're going to listen to other candidates' ideas. That sounds pretty. Talk to a Trump supporter. Hell no, not voting for nobody but Trump. But Democrats are like, well, maybe I could consider. That sounds reasonable to me. It's the Democrats that are impressionable. Republicans are not moving. And if they have moved from being Trump supporters, they're voting for Joe Biden. But those same Trump supporters that voted for him in 2016, that are voting for Biden and Kamala Harris, wouldn't vote for Bernie Sanders. Democratic loyalists, and I use that term loosely, because the last radio station I was at, I worked with wacko leftists, like atheists, just, and not that, let me not talk about religion because I know how y'all feel about that, but so anti-religion that they personified the devil. You know what I'm saying? It was just like indoctrinated, like gaslit by Bernie. But at the same time, they also had this real weird fetish and fascination with Donald Trump. Did I ever tell you guys a story about how they damn near begged me to go to, where was Trump? Trump went to, where did he go? Merrimack, where would, Meriwether. Trump went somewhere up north, up near Wausau. Damn it. And the previous radio station I was at, they used to travel to cover the candidate visits. And Trump went to Mamamak, Mananak, I don't know, somewhere up there. And they were begging me to come to a Trump rally. And Trump rallies are dangerous. And we see what happens to African Americans and other people that don't look like they belong at Trump rallies. And they were trying to convince me, because we had to leave at like 3:00 in the morning to set up the broadcast. And I was like, first of all, I'm not going. Second of all, I'm not getting up at 3:00 in the morning to go to a war zone. But they would cover these Trump visits every time, and they thought it was funny. Like, that's not funny to me. But that's also some progressives that are so loosely affiliated with politics, they're romanticized by, because there were some Bernie supporters in 2016 that voted for Trump. Oh, please believe it. They may not admit it, where some Republicans will come out and say, oh, snap, I voted for Trump. There's even some African Americans in this Facebook group, Marinette. Was it Marinette, Margaret? It's in Marathon County he went to. Merrill, I think it was Merrill. Thank you, Sandra. I wasn't going to Merrill. I'm not going to go to Merrill, Wisconsin, really for anything, let alone a Trump rally, because you don't just get the people from Merrill, Wisconsin. You get people from like a 5-county area that want to see them some Trump. But it's just another example of how the line between these, I don't want to call them political terrorists, but they hate the system so much that they will embrace the most extreme elements to prove a point. They can tell us that the system is broken and we believe it. And those of you who have still not gotten your unemployment benefits, who have been applying since March, when you tell me the system is broken, I believe you. Those of you that were laid off of work and then went back to work and were laid off again, when you tell me the system is broken, I believe you. Those of you that want to keep your kids at home, but then the school said, nope, send your kids to school, and now your kids are back at home because the school's got coronavirus outbreaks. When you say the system is broken, I believe you. I would much rather work to repair the broken system, because we can do it. Like, we're sensible enough, instead of burning it down, because America doesn't do well when we burn the whole system down. Trump represents, let's destroy the Republican Party. There were 17 Republicans that were running, and Donald Trump ended up becoming the nominee because he literally destroyed everybody. He was a bull in a china shop. He belittled, he bemeaned, he disrespected the Republicans who had been so repressed for so long. Like, oh my God, I like this guy. He's so exciting. He uses words that are very simple and easy to understand. He must really know what he's talking about. Plus, he's a businessman. Trump was a rebellion. It was a rebellion against diversity. It was a rebellion against Barack Obama. It was a rebellion against the government telling you that you had to have health insurance in a country where 40 million people didn't have health insurance. But it's weird because the same government will tell you that you have to have car insurance, and we got no problem with that. Trump represents rebellion. There are forces on the very far left that also represent that kind of rebellion. But the forces on the very far left, when they rebel, when they defect, when they go off the reservation to a third party candidate, then the Republicans have more strength. It's very, very simple. If I go get my car fixed, because I don't like getting my car fixed because it's always bad news. The car makes a noise, and I've owned enough cars to recognize just about every noise a car can make. And I hear it's broken. The car's broken. Maybe it's the transmission. Maybe there's a clunk, clunk, clunk in the engine, you see. Mechanic says, well, We can rebuild your piston rods. We can put in new bearings. Because for some reason, mechanics and Trump supporters all have Southern accents. Whatever, humor me. Well, we can rebuild your rod bearings and we can put in a new systematic hydraulic pump, or you can just buy a new car. No, I'm gonna fix the car. If it's broken and it can be fixed, like American democracy, then let's fix it. Don't burn it down. There are people that want to destroy this country, and there's a variety of people that do. And look, as a Black man, I should want to destroy it too. But I know that when America is in shambles, it's not an opportunity to rebuild it. It's going to be more chaos because there won't be any direction. And who the leaders may be when America has been shredded, that's the scariest part. Because the last time America was really destroyed, it was because of civil war. And the labor that African Americans provided before the war and then after the war rebuilt the country. So when our country was most fractured and divided, I'm not talking about World War I or World War II, that didn't divide the nation of the United States. We stayed relatively intact through those campaigns of war, did we not? Like the closest they ever got to bombing us, other than September 11th, how ironic that's the date, was Pearl Harbor, and that was Hawaii, and that's 3,000 miles off of the coast of California. We remained intact. But when our nation is destroyed and divided, like after a civil war, you need something consistent that can rebuild it. And it has been, and it is Black labor. Whether it's Black labor in plantations on the South or the wealth that just a Black body brought to a plantation owner, we were an economic mainstay for the South. And I would say the South has never recovered from losing its slaves. There's still disproportionate amounts of poverty in the South. And it's weird because the poorest states are often Republican-run states. You know how Republicans talk about, oh, those Democrat-run cities are in trouble. Yeah, Republican-run states are worse. And so if we tear the country down, people say, you know what, screw Joe Biden and screw Donald Trump, which means that Donald Trump gets reelected again, but the people that should have voted for Joe Biden stay home or vote third party. Black people are not going to help you rebuild this country. You have to know that going into whatever we're about to go into come 2021. Mark Superfly Chambers, good morning, sir. Marinette is the home of Marinette Marine, and the Kimberly Clark plant is there. Yeah, it was Merrill. That's where, because all those was there's so many M names. You got Manitowoc, Marinette, Merrill, Mayville. There's a lot of M's in Wisconsin. All right, let's talk about these drop boxes. From WTMJ.com, Milwaukee Mayor Tom Barrett announcing yesterday, the city is adding 15 absentee ballot drop boxes at City Hall, a municipal building on South KK, and 13 Milwaukee County Library locations. Voters can drop their ballots off 24 hours a day until the polls close on November 3rd. Oh, so that's good. So you can even put your ballot in a drop box on election day. That's good. That's another option. The problem is we don't know when the ballots are going to be printed. If we don't know when they're going to be printed, we don't know where they're going to be dropped in the mail, because we don't know what's happening with the post office and their funding. Even when the ballots are dropped in the mail, we don't know when you're going to get them. There will be 24-hour surveillance on the drop boxes. Absentee ballots will be collected daily and delivered to the Election Commission office. 24 hours after submitting an absentee ballot, voters can make certain it was received by going to myvote.wi.gov. That to me is a bit of good news, because we're making it as easy as possible. I have never seen voting and registering made this easy. You have the NBA turning its arenas all over the country. Not all the NBA arenas, but close to half of them. They're allowing their arenas to be used to register voters on election day. When I go on social media, when I go on Instagram, follow the forum on Instagram, by the way. It's the Forum 2 on Instagram. When I open up the Instagram, there's a little link. Hey, You're from Wisconsin, click here to find out voter information. When you're on Facebook, a number of different things pop up here, click here to vote or find out how you vote. I've never seen that before. The only other time I saw a real like heavy interest, like from outside people and groups and organizations, because I've never seen sports teams get involved like this, never. And I'm glad they are. You know, the NBA, which is majority African-American men, are also members, a lot of them they're members of the Black community. And they see what's going on in this country, and they see what Trump has done. When you got basketball players, which I come to find out only 20% of them are registered to vote. Did you guys see that? 20% of NBA players are registered to vote. But maybe they're going to change that. It's going to be, 25%. But they see what's going on too. And just, you hear it everywhere. I was watching a part of the MTV Video Music Awards, which I realized I'm way too old to watch that because I don't know who the people are. But they were even talking about it. Any comedian, anybody who is, in the public these days, they are talking about the importance of voting. The only other time I've ever seen so many outside groups and organizations get involved in the process was in 2004. There was this thing called Rock the Vote. You guys remember Rock the Vote? P. Diddy came here. I got pictures. A whole bunch of celebrities came to Wisconsin. Wisconsin was kind of a battleground back then because I think Al Gore won Wisconsin by really like 5,700 votes in 2004 because of all the efforts from the outside groups. We were asked, those that were working on the presidential campaign of 2004, Sherwin, who should we get to come to Wisconsin to try and encourage African Americans to vote? And I was like, I don't know. Chuck D from Public Enemy? Chuck D from Public Enemy came. How about DMC from Run DMC? He came. How about Q-Tip from A Tribe Called Quest? He even came. Clearly, I'm a fan of 90s hip hop. And they asked me who I wanted to see. Though they asked me like, oh, Sherwin, who do you think Black voters will want to hear from? I was like, I don't know, but I know who I want to hear from. And so it helps. But the last time I saw this much outside interest, other than the political parties themselves, and also the amount of money that Joe Biden raised. When I think of Joe Biden, I don't think of a beacon of fundraising. When I think of Barack Obama, I do think of someone that can raise a lot of money because Barack Obama is really intelligent and articulate, and he's funny, and he has a lot of charisma, and he makes people feel warm. You show the pictures of when we have like a disaster and Barack Obama's there, he's like hugging people and he's playing with babies in the White House. Like, that's the kind of candidate that regular folks who don't participate in elections, who don't give to candidates, like they'll give to Barack Obama. My good friend Michelle Bryan tells the story all the time of how her mother has never given to a presidential candidate ever before, but gave $5 a week or $5 a month to Barack Obama. Joe Biden is not that kind of guy. Is he? He's not. I'm still nervous when I hear Joe Biden speak. There's nothing that Joe Biden could do at this point for me not to vote for him. Nothing. And call me whatever you want to. There's nothing he could do. I don't want him to use the N-word. I really don't. But at this point, guys, if he did, I'd be like, well, how did he use it? Well, do we understand? Was he rapping a song? But Joe Biden raised $365 million. No, Kamala Harris helped as well. But to raise $365 million in a month, where Donald Trump raised like half of that, that is tremendous. And so now, this election, and I can't speak for the rest of the country because I don't know what Ohio people are going to do, or Florida is another one that you just don't. Florida is always frightening because whenever you hear something in the news, a man from Florida, it's always, so I don't know what's going to happen. I'm still mad at Florida for the year 2000, but whatever. So it's going to be granular. It's going to be in the margins. And something like a conservative Wisconsin Supreme Court, you have to look at Republicans as more of a monolith. Now they're working in concert, and they have so many different positions throughout our government, whether it's state government, whether it's local government here, whether it's the Donald Trump administration, whether it's Congress, Republicans in the House and Republicans in the US Senate led by Mitch McConnell. They're all working together. Like, the federal Republicans are not just working with the federal Republicans, They're working with folks here. And Scott Walker, his name is being brought up. Like, he's tweeting a bunch of stuff. Walker is probably trying to get a gig in the Trump administration's second term, but I don't think Trump would take it. Ant Esky, good morning, sir. Will Fiserv open for early voting? You know what, Ant? I don't know. You guys want to do something? Let's do something. Alden Higgins, don't feel bad. I don't know half the new artists either. Yeah, I don't know. So we had a little, I shouldn't bring this up because the internet just has no chill. So I talked about the song WAP yesterday, and I gave my take on the lyrics, which I shouldn't have done. Shouldn't have did that. And then there were some comments, a comment thread going back and forth on YouTube, because I post these videos on YouTube because not everybody can watch them real time on Facebook, which is cool. Go to the forum2.com on YouTube and pow, there you go. Oh, Monday, we're moving this to YouTube. You still may be able to log into the Facebook group and see the videos, but if you go and sign up and subscribe to our YouTube channel, the forum2.com on YouTube, that's where I'm going to be broadcasting from this point forward. Because Facebook has never really been designed to be a video platform, but YouTube is, so that's why I'm doing that. And so there was a comment thread yesterday. Don't let me forget I'm gonna do something right here. I always say I'm gonna do something, I never do it. Here we go. About the song WAP by Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B. And I have my take on it. And I'm not gonna cast a negative dispersion on those two artists, and they are artists, about their topic of choice for that particular song. Because one thing that African Americans have, and Cardi's not Black, is she? She's Puerto Rican. Well, we claim the Puerto Ricans. Puerto Ricans are the kind of Latinos that are okay being confused as Black. Don't confuse a Mexican person with Black because they may say that they're not, but whatever. Puerto Ricans, okay. My neighbors are Puerto Rican. They're welcome over here in the hood. We like them. They like us. There's a lot of similarities to our culture. And plus, Puerto Ricans are Spanish and Africans. That's our heritage. So they're our half brothers and sisters. Anyways, but one thing that is afforded to Black people, we're not afforded all that much. Like, we have to work really hard to get basic decency, but we are afforded language. Black people can use racial epithets against white people, and it doesn't cause us to get canceled. It doesn't. We can use the N-word freely, and while it may ruffle some feathers, it's not the same as if a white person uses the N-word, because what America decided some time ago, I don't know when, is that we may not give Black people a good education system, same opportunities to have housing and to have life in the pursuit of happiness and liberty. May not give them that, but we are going to afford them the use of language. And we have taken our use of language and created a uniquely American art form from it, because we are given language. I've had many a topic and many a conversation on the N-word and its many different pejorative or colloquial uses. It's a fascinating conversation. It takes all my energy to have that conversation, but it's always very interesting because Black people are afforded the use of certain racial slurs. We just are. We're not given a whole bunch else. Like, we don't start with much. When a Black child is born, they can say the N-word and people are like, oh, that's cute. And so the language that they use in that song, WAP, is, you just don't want a 10 or 11-year-old girl listening to that, because I don't know if the physiology of a woman's anatomy should be that kind of source of pride, but that's a whole nother thing. And so the person is going back and forth with me and arguing about how the song is, ultimately about women's sexual liberation and how women are reclaiming their bodies from men. And I don't want you to think that I think that's wonderful. But for a woman to think, and I don't want to be mansplaining this, so please stop me, because the majority of the people in this group are women. But if someone needs to reclaim something, then that means it was taken at one point in time. So if something was never taken from you against your will, then there is no need to reclaim it. And so when I made my allegations of what people experience in order for them to deliver a certain type of art may be abusive. Some of the best, most talented people across the spectrum of art throughout history were the most troubled. Whether they killed themselves or they killed other people or they died too young. Just look at the members of the 27 Club. Some of the most talented artists out of the 1960s and 1970s all died at the age of 27. Even Kurt Cobain died in 1994, age 27. Pain creates beautiful art. So I don't even know how I talked about that. So here's what we're going to do. I said I was going to do something. I'm going to do something. Hold on a second. Hold on now. Gotta bear with me. Talk amongst yourself while I do this thing I'm doing. Hold on now. You're always trying to rush old Sherwin. Hold on. So I am curious. A question was brought up. Can you vote early at the Fiserv Forum at Miller Park? I don't know. But you know who does know? The Election Commission. So let me remember when we called them a couple months ago and the lady was rude. Let's try this. Let me see. I hope this works. God, Lord, I hope this works. Okay, hang on. Can y'all hear that?
Good morning, Election Commission. May I help you?
Hey, how are you? I have a question about a couple of early voting locations. I want to know if they are early voting locations. I was told that Fiserv Forum and Miller Park are going to be accessible voters. Can people vote early there, or is that just on election day?
Early voting.
Oh, so when early voting starts
Early
October 20th, people will be able to go to Miller Park and Fiserv Forum to vote early.
Correct.
Okay, one more question for you. Do you have any idea
Yes,
when our ballots are going to get mailed out?
they're supposed to know out around September 17th.
Thank you very much.
You are welcome. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye. Did you guys hear that? Because I don't know what you guys hear until you tell me. She was nice. And I think that was the same lady that we called a couple months ago that wasn't very nice. Jacqueline Ward, your thoughts on the Republicans for Biden? LOL. Jacqueline Ward says, if your own party comes out publicly against you, Trump a mess. Yeah. But Democrats have come out against other Democrats. So we lost. One of the reasons why the Democrats lost the majority in the Senate was because Democratic members of the Senate distanced themselves, this is in 2010, distanced themselves from Barack Obama because Barack Obama supported the Affordable Care Act. And so if you were running for the US Senate and you're a Democrat, you didn't want Barack Obama campaigning for you because they thought Obama was toxic. So they distanced themselves from him. And a lot of those Democrats that didn't attach themselves to Barack Obama lost the re-election campaigns. That's so stupid. You know what the Republicans have learned from us? They have learned that if you attach yourself to the president of the United States, when that president shares your party, you're going to get reelected. Now, Trump has had some issues with that, but for the most part, haven't these Republican senators been loyal to him? Tim Scott from South Carolina been so loyal to him. Lindsey Graham been so loyal to him. Ron Johnson been so loyal to him. Mitch McConnell been so loyal to him because they know when you stray away from your executive and you're of the same party, you're going to lose. Jacqueline Ward says, WAP is whack, and I can respect both those musicians. I like a bumping rap song. The beat besides the subject is whack. Thank you. Jacqueline Ward, music critic. Tammy Reed, very different response. This time, nice. Yeah, she was a lot nicer. Maybe because the last phone call that we did with the election lady, I should ask her name. She was like, You could just tell she was making that face. She won't call at me. Denise Jones, Miller Park, I thought was only a drive-through drop-off location. I mean, what I'm gonna do is because I got to get out of here. The reason why I'm wearing this suit is because I got to go do a thing. I'm gonna listen to who's this calling me? Oh hell! I gotta go soon. But she said, right, Miller Park, and she was kind of not sure. I mean, early vote. I was like, oh, is it early vote? So maybe. Nah, that was not the same lady. You don't think that was the same lady? I thought it was the same lady. Kia JS, love the suit jacket today, brother. Thank you, guys. You know, Sherwin cleans up nicely now. Just because you see me wearing an assortment of t-shirts doesn't mean that I don't have a closet full of other things. Thanks, guys. So, all right, come Monday, wish me luck on this endeavor. This broadcast will be native to YouTube. So if you go to YouTube, youtube.com, and type in theforum2.com, or if you go to our website, theforum2.com, you'll be able to subscribe to our YouTube channel starting on Monday. That is where the broadcast will begin. You'll still be able to participate. You'll still be able to chat, but it will be via YouTube. At some point, I probably will share our YouTube link of these forum live videos to Facebook, but that's going to be an afterthought because I got to start exploring the YouTube space. And again, thank you to all of the people that have contributed via Patreon to support this independent journalism that I believe is going to help us get through these tough times and ultimately could be the savior of our democracy. Have a wonderful Friday, guys. And I will see you guys on Monday via YouTube. Till then, stay safe. Wear a mask.